Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our session titled Let's Talk Let's Talk a Study with US Financing Graduate Studies. My name is Umara Daud, and I am an education advisor working at the Islamabad office. With me is my colleague Mashal Khan. Before starting the session, a bit of an introduction about Education USA and USEFB. Education USA is a global network under the US Department of State, comprising over 425 international student advising centers in more than 175 countries. We are your official source of US higher education. We provide accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited post-secondary institutions in the US, in the United States. We are available to students that need support or advice throughout Pakistan through email, call, and in-person meetings. Please visit our website, educationusa.pk, to register for our free advising services. In Pakistan, Education USA is based at the United States Education Foundation, USEFP, which is also the Fulbright Commission in the country. USEFP promotes mutual understanding between the people of Pakistan and the people of United States through educational and cultural exchange with offices in Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi. USEFP comprises of several departments, including advising, prometric testing center, programs, and alumni. If you want more information about our departments and services we offer, please visit our website at www.usefp.org. Before we start, please remember to drop your questions in the Q&A box. I will be able to answer your questions at the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. So we start our session with understanding why students should apply to the United States. There are 6 important factors that are unique about the US education. Recognition. One of the main reasons why students choose to study in US is the country's reputation for renowned higher education programs and a long history of attracting the best international talent from all around the world. Quality. The US is home to the best colleges and universities in the world. Its higher education institutions are recognized for their programs from arts and humanities to STEM disciplines, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Studying abroad in the USA will offer a competitive edge once you enter the job market. The value of US education is well established and recognized all over the world. Diversity. These universities have large international population and pride themselves on being global environments where hundreds of nationalities represented in their campuses. A commitment to educating global citizens now figures in many mission statements and strategic plans of these universities. Flexibility. US is known for its flexibility, known for offering flexibility in choosing your courses and majors. At the graduate level, students can pick and choose subjects that interest them from a wide variety of courses. The most important feature would be the flexibility of choosing different core courses or selecting courses from other schools in the same university. Student life. US campuses have a vibrant student life. Most resources are available on campus, like libraries, cafeterias, bookstores, grocery stores, clubs, a lot of events that happen for students and these are opportunities for understanding other cultures and also meeting people from all around the world. Funding. Some of the universities in US have endowments that are bigger than total GDPs of the countries. For example, Harvard with $53 billion of endowment in 2021. Competitive universities tend to have more financial resources to award funding and fellowships. However, universities across the United States provide funding to international students based on their profiles and the funding resources available to them. Next slide, please. These are the three different kinds of graduate degrees that are offered in the US: master's degree, doctoral degree, and a combined degree. I will be going into detail in the next few slides about these degrees and their features. Next slide, yes. So for master's degree, there are three kinds of master's degree that are offered in the US. One is applied professional masters. These require 1 to 3 years of coursework and are meant to prepare people for careers in such professions such as business, MBA, teaching, MAT, or social work, MSW. Research master's program require 1 to 2 years of coursework and is designed to enhance research experience which begun in your undergraduate studies. Some expect a complete thesis or other successful completion of written or oral examination. And some of these degrees are masters leading to PhD, which you transit from your masters and complete a PhD later. Creative masters requires 2 to 3 years of coursework focused on expanding on creative work started in undergraduate school. Painters, poets, and artists of all sorts can apply for a master's of fine arts, MFA, music, MMM, and writing and poetry, MFAW, and others. Next slide, please. Similarly, for doctoral program, applied professional doctoral programs such as DBA, which is a doctoral program in business administration, medicine, MD, OD, and law, JD, and education, PhD is EDD. These degrees usually are a continuation of your bachelor's degree, but need a good and strong professional experience before you go ahead and pursue these degrees. Research doctoral programs, they award PhDs. These are PhD programs that are offered in all schools, in different schools, in arts, in sciences, and engineering. SJD is also a doctoral program that is a doctorate in law. Combined doctoral programs. Combining an applied degree with a research program is common in the US. A medical student may also pursue a PhD in a biomedical area, or a law student simultaneously apply for a master's in arts or sciences. Usually, applications are submitted to both programs simultaneously, and the applicant must be accepted to both. Next slide, please. So the university intake cycles. There are three important cycles that take students at different points in the year: fall, winter, and spring. Fall semester, the application deadline is November to May, winter, July to December, and spring, January to March. Fall intake generally begins around late August or late September and receives the highest number of applicants, especially in top universities or top countries, or countries like US. This intake also has the highest number of courses offered when it comes to comparing fall intake versus spring or winter. And the universities also enroll the maximum number of international students during this intake. So you should be looking out for the fall semester that has the most opportunities available. Almost all universities abroad offer the fall intake. This is the most common semester that's offered. This is the all international students, majority of the international students apply in the semester. Almost all graduate and PhD programs courses are on offer in fall intake. So most of the courses are also offered at this time. As the academic year starts during this time of the year around the world, there are more opportunities available for students in terms of scholarships and grants. The fall students have an advantage over summer internships offered by the universities, as they easily meet the 9-month criteria before applying for an internship. More on-campus opportunities are also available for fall students. So you should be eyeing the semester for if you want to apply for a graduate degree, master's, or PhD. Next slides, please. So now we delve deep into what securing admission and funding in US means. For your information and for you, we have divided them into 10 steps. I'm going to go deep into these steps in the slides that are coming ahead. But this is the organization, and these are the important factors to consider. These are important steps to consider when you are thinking of applying for a graduate degree in the US. Next slide, please. The first step is deciding on graduate studies. Please remember that graduate education requires a significant investment of time and money. As a first step to your graduate degree process, it is important to think deeply about reasons to pursue graduate studies, especially those students who are thinking of applying for PhD program, because it's an investment of 3 to 5 years in the US. It's important to think deeply about which major and which concentration you are thinking of pursuing your degree, as it will pave your way, and you'll be able to take the burden of very high and advanced coursework in the PhD that'll be coming to you. It is important to identify your whys right from the start, as it prepares you to take on the challenges of graduate application early on. Next slide, please. So we are going to have an audience poll. What, in your opinion, or when should you start your graduate application process? I'll give you a few more minutes for everybody to finish. So most of you think that you should start your process or you should start planning for your program 12 months before. It is recommended, or we advise our advisees, that you should start your process of thinking about applying to graduate studies 24 months before your program starts. So next slides, please. So second step in securing admission and funding in US is to make a list of prospective universities. This step is the most time-consuming step, and you should take a lot of time in making a comprehensive list of universities that you want to apply to. You should consider a lot of factors that you are thinking about before you finalize your list. We usually advise our advisees to have a final list of 5 to 6 or 7 universities, because applying to graduate school is not only expensive, but also it takes a lot of time to properly finish and go through the process of graduate application. You must start your graduate application process 24 months in advance of the start of your degree. Please remember that there are over 4,000 colleges and universities in the US, and only 10 to 1,500 award advanced or graduate degrees in the US. There are several criteria that you should consider before deciding on the final list. Here are some of them. And in considering that we are talking about funding right now, the most important would be tuition and living expenses, scholarship opportunities in form of tuition waivers, scholarships and assistantships, and current career status. These are 3 important factors with respect to funding that you should be thinking about and should include in your list of factors to be considered for choosing the universities to apply for. Next slide, please. This is a sheet we share with our undergraduate students, which can also be tapered to include graduate indicators. This is a sample sheet. We also share with our graduate advisees, and they change it to according to what they think is important to add. This sheet gives them the capability to populate all the required information, and accordingly helps them decide which universities make it to their final list. Next slide, please. The third step in securing admission and funding in the US is to research schools and professors. Now that you have a final list of universities, the first thing you should do is to go and dive deep into researching the school and department websites, and to access the application process, requirements, and the list of departments and the list of faculty. The world has changed a lot. Before, we were emailing professors, or we were advising people to email, but now LinkedIn is there. If you are interested in a specific university and department, you should follow it on LinkedIn, because it will give you a lot of information about upcoming programs, upcoming scholarships that they're going to offer, and also the placements of their graduates, the job the alumni are involved in, and specifically according to your major. This will give you a lot of information. You can connect with these alumni, you can connect with the current students, you can connect with the professors to see, to negotiate, to have a conversation, to see what opportunities are there for you to be able to secure an admission or funding in the specific school you're interested in. So you have to thoroughly research the faculty, identify professors, connect to them through email or LinkedIn, and you should know a lot of information of what they're doing, what is their current area of research, and how you want to connect with them regarding your own background. You should also connect with the graduate students and talk to them about the program, talk to them about the department, and ask them about what opportunities are available, what resources are available regarding your specific field. Next slide, please. The fourth step is financial planning. This is, I think, the next most important step would be to think about the resources that are available for you to support your graduate education. Here is a list of 5 possible resources or possible sources of funding that you can think about. Maybe more, but these are the ones that we are going to share with you, and we're going to talk about them. The first resource is personal funds and family funds. Students should start their financial planning as early as possible. It is important to understand the overall cost while you're developing a budget and a financial strategy to your graduate studies. Start evaluating how much fund you and your family can provide for your education, annual family income, family assets, or own earnings, or other resources. If you're planning to apply for financial aid, note that the general financial aid amounts are based on the difference between college costs and what you or your family can afford. So if you are applying through your organization, this is a great way of financing your master's or PhD or your graduate degree. Please be cognizant of the deadlines or the procedure that your organization has outlaid for that, and be on time in applying for that. There are also student loans are also another source of funding. If you think that your financial capability requires the support, students are student research about these loans on their own, and it's a personal choice. External funding, there are a lot of external funding options for graduate students that are available. There are a lot of resources that we will also share with you, where universities post their scholarships and funding opportunities. I will talk about in detail of certain specific external fundings that are available for Pakistani students later in this presentation. Next slide, please. So step 5 is understanding the cost of attendance. When we talk about cost of attendance, most of the students think that cost of attendance means tuitions and fees, but cost of attendance includes a lot of other costs that usually are not part of the strategic budgeting of the students. So we want to make sure that we want to give you an overview of what costs can come your way while you are applying for graduate studies, and also when you will be there. So the first cost, of course, is tuitions and fees, and books and supplies. So this head contains both of these expenses. The second cost is living expenses. This is part of your cost of attendance. Your boarding, your lodging, your transportation costs, your personal expenses, health insurance, which is very important, especially in the US. And expenses of dependents in case of graduate students. People are professionally, these are professional, they have families, sometimes they want to take their families there, so you have to put your the cost inside in your calculator when you are thinking of calculating the total cost of your graduate studies. Some ancillary costs that usually are not part of the calculations regarding the graduate financing budget. For example, application fees. When you apply to US, each application costs a certain fee. The fee ranges from $65 to $150 currently. So you should be cognizant that these fees will be part of your budgeting process. GRE fee, that's a requirement by your university that you're applying to, is $220, and TOEFL fee is $205. In case of TOEFL, if you want to have a cost-effective option, you can do Duolingo if your specific university allows for that. It's a much cheaper option in place of TOEFL. Also, we will recommend that students should explore or contact the admission department to get an application fee waiver. And a lot of universities do give application fee waivers to students, which lowers your cost of attendance. Next slide, please. So this is a sample F1. Yeah, so this is a sample F1, which shows you two specific heads. One is tuition and fee, and the other one is your sources of funding. And they can, in tuition fee, your living expenses is also a part of it. Your cost of dependence is also part of it. And in sources, there can be multiple sources that you can support your graduate studies through. It can be assistantship, it can be other external funding, it could be your personal expenses, it could be family resources. So whatever resources you're going to outline to the university will put it in your F1. This is the basic document that you will take. You will need to get the visa, and also you will need to enter the country and be there as a F1 student. Next slide, please. So factor affecting cost of attendance. Here we highlight few factors that will help you reduce your cost of attendance. Students, when usually they are planning for their graduate studies, when they are choosing universities, they are not aware that making strategic and intelligent decisions can actually lower their cost of education even more. So some factors to consider, which will help you lower your cost of funding, and also help you be able to take secure admission, and also support yourself as much with the funding that is available as possible. So I'm going to go one by one in the next slides about these factors that are that will help you lower your cost of funding. Next slide, please. Before I go into the slides, I want to just make sure that please remember that actual costs vary by institutions. So refer to each institution's website for specific costs. Also, when budgeting, estimated tuition costs typically increase by 6 to 10% each year. So factor that in when you are making a budget. You can, as you can see, that a master degree typically ranges between $30,000 to $120,000 depending on the school, major, and the length of the program. As you can see, there's a significant difference in the public and private tuition fee per year for both masters and PhD. Factoring that in definitely helps you lower your cost of attendance, overall cost of attendance, bring your finances within the realm of your capability to support your graduate education. Time to degree is also an important factor. While you're making a budget, you should know how much funding is available, how much funding is awarded to you, and how much you have to contribute, and what is the average time to finish this degree, so that you can factor in if you have to arrange for more funding while you are still pursuing your graduate degree. In this case, a JD MBA is for 3 years. PhD in social sciences on average is 7.7 years. These are estimated numbers, not necessarily that everybody finishes their PhD or their master's within these time frames, but these are averages that are available. Masters in education, 1.5 years to 2 years. If you finish your master's or accelerate your program, you definitely also are at an advantage of saving money for another semester. So if your degree is for 2 years and you finish it in 1.5, you definitely save on your cost of attendance. Next slide, please. Here, please also remember that different programs within the same university will have different tuition costs. For example, in Washington University in St. Louis in 2021, the tuition fee for law school is $43,000, social work is $31,000, and graduate school of arts and sciences, $39. So it also varies within the university. So when you are making a budget, you should also factor in that the department that you're applying to, does it have a higher cost or a lower cost as tuition fee. Also, as I mentioned before, that it's a great investment of time and money. So when you're applying for a graduate degree, you should weigh the pros and cons of applying to a certain major. If within your major, there's a certain specific field which is up and coming and rising, you should also weigh the chances of the pros and cons of getting into that field rather than only being passionate about a certain field. It's a personal choice, but it's definitely increases the return on investment. All prospective students should search thoroughly for the availability of jobs in their fields and also the dollar value of the jobs that are available. Especially in case of PhD students, you should also research that whether you will need a postdoc position before you will be able to apply for a job in the market. OPT and CPT optional practical training and curricular practical training are two good options when you are looking for programs. See if, for example, STEM programs offer OPT for 3 years. It's a great opportunity for you to get experience in the US and also maybe transition to a job opportunity if your employer is interested in sponsoring you. But it definitely gives you another year and can work in the US, earn and gain some experience. So if the programs have these possibilities, you should prefer those programs or should put them in your list that you want to when you're finalizing your list. Glassdoor.com is a great resource. You can go online and see what job opportunities are available in certain majors and what are the dollar values that are going on for those certain majors. Next slide, please. So audience poll, we're going to initiate another poll. America is divided into 4 distinct regions. Which region, in your view, has the highest cost of living? I'll give you 1 minute to for this poll. So 39% of you think West Coast, 36% of you think Northeast Coast, and 19% Midwest, and 6% South. Yeah. So yes. So Northeast and West Coast are the most expensive coasts in the US. Midwest and South have a lower cost of living as compared to these two areas, these two distinct regions. Next slide, please. So this is this is America's map, and we have divided all these regions into these 4 distinct regions. You can see in the Northeast, all the Ivy Leagues and most expensive universities are there. In the West Coast, California is a very expensive region to live in. Midwest and South have lower cost of living, and a lot of quality universities as well, which you can consider to be part of your university list. Please remember that once you are admitted in a university in the US, you should have competitive universities in your list if you have a very good profile. But having a diversified list will help you, one, get admission, and second, the overall quality of education in the US does not differ or varies that much. And once you're in that university, you'll be getting almost the same quality of education as anywhere in any other region. Next slide, please. So this is a comparison of cost of living by location, and this is also a continuation of our poll. As you can see, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Iowa, all in South and Midwest, and Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, New York, and California, all in the New England, Mid-Atlantic, and West side of these regions. So here's a website that gives you a comparison of cost of living between across countries or between within a country as well. So just to give you an example, the cost of living for 1-bedroom apartment in Islamabad costs $155 as compared to $4,000 in New York. And the utility bills cost $79 as compared to $166 in New York. Next slide, please. Let me also give you a comparison within US. So Nashville, Tennessee, 1-bedroom apartment will cost $2,000, and in New York it will cost $4,000. So as your cost of living goes down, your tuition fee also goes down. So considering when you are thinking of applying to universities, making a list, putting them in your list, these factors should be considered to make sure that your financial capability and the awards that you have are able to fully fund you through throughout the period of your program. And these factors will lower your cost of attendance. Next slide, please. So financial options available. There are a lot of financial options available, but the most important factor that will help you have more opportunities to apply as early as possible. Please also remember that the deadlines for scholarships and grants can be as early as 18 months before the start of your program. That's why they say you start your search 24 months before, so that you're able to capitalize on the opportunities that are available more early in the process. Start applying a semester before or earlier. Please remember that the deadlines for scholarships and grants, also, yeah, so we already talked about that. These openings are mostly open, are mostly available on the university websites as jobs. So you should go and see what assistantships and what scholarships and fellowships are available on the university websites. Once you find these opportunities, the information of the professors are available on, and the procedure of the application process required for these assistantships and fellowships is available on the website. Please go ahead and correspond with the professors and departments way before your application deadlines. Please remember that connecting with professors and putting yourself out there is so important, because these professors are key people who they play a key role in identifying and choosing who the grant and the funding is going to in their departments. The next slide, please. So what is graduate funding? Graduate funding is a bit different from scholarships and grants and undergraduate funding, which is mostly institutional. Money offered to graduate students is based on merit and need, or a combination of two. Scholarships awards only cover the part of your total education and living costs, and the rest might have to be covered by you. And for international students in the first year, these fellowships or assistantships might not be available. Professional schools offer financial aid based on need, usually in form of loans. They very rarely give you a merit-based scholarship or award. It will depend on that the candidate is very competitive, and how institution is allocating their resources. But mostly professional schools do not offer scholarships or funding. Arts and sciences master's and doctoral programs offer merit and need-based fellowships and loans. But mostly the proportion of these funding is mostly majorly allocated to doctoral students. Next slide, please. So what kind of funding options are available at the graduate level? So tuition waivers, fellowships, assistantships, loans, and external funding and grants. Next slide, please. So tuition fees mean a reduction in the amount of tuition a student has to pay. It can be a full waiver, or it can be a partial waiver. That will be dependent on the decision of your university. We will encourage you to connect with the administration, connect with the universities, and inquire about tuition waivers in the programs that you're applying to. Fellowships are the amount that are given to support your housing, food, book, supplies, and are often called stipends. These are in addition to the tuition waiver that you are given. These are usually offered after the completion of the first year of graduate degree or graduate study. Assistantships. These require performance of duties in exchange for a stipend. A TA-ship is something that you work with a professor for, depending on the program, for 5 to 20 hours a week, assisting in classes and independently teaching a course or course section. Research assistantships, you may work for 5 to 20 hours a week assisting a professor with classes, or independently assisting a professor in research, and that includes support for masters. You're going to support a professor in his research, spending maybe 5 to 10 hours a week on the research or publication that they are working on. And these research assistantships are more common in natural sciences, engineering, and social sciences. Graduate assistantship is everything that TA-ship and research assistantship does not cover. This means that you will be allocated or assigned to perform all sorts of tasks that do not fit into TA and RA category. Graduates may spend time in graduate school office completing admission statistics or assisting in policy development. Fourth, loans. Students may also consider taking loans, as we said before, to cover some part of their education, but and that's their personal decision, and there are a variety of options available in the market which you can explore. Next slides, please. So here are some examples of graduate assistantships that are currently available on the university websites. You can go to these websites and you can see what is available, and if anything that corresponds to the interest of your interest or your area of specialization, you should, the application process and the information of the professor is available. You should connect with them and try to secure a positive response from the professor. So this is Michigan State University, and the next slide, please. This is another example from Purdue University. Fifth, external scholarship and funding. This can come from university, it comes from outside the university and is awarded to individual students. Fellowships and grants may come from government agencies, intergovernmental bodies, or private foundations. For Pakistani students, here are some external funding resources available: Fulbright Scholarship, AAUW, International Fellowship, HEC, US Pakistan Knowledge Corridor, and Khan Foundation. Next slide, please. So Fulbright is the flagship program, scholarship program of USEFP. Here are some requirements that it's a fully funded program, and once you're selected, your airfare, your living cost, your books, and health insurance and everything is paid for, even the airfare. The eligibility criteria is for master's degree, you have to have 16 years of education. For PhD degree, you have to 18 years of education. You should be Pakistani resident and a citizen, and should be residing in Pakistan while you're applying for the Fulbright application. All academic disciplines are eligible except clinical medicine. The requirements are GRE, which the criteria has been revised this year, 145 verbal, 145 quantitative, personal essays, state study research objectives. These are 2 essays that you have to submit, and then scanned transcripts, not original, and 3 reference letters, 2 academic, 1 professional. And if you have been out of academic environment for a long time, you can do 2 professional and 1 academic. Next slide, please. So letter of introduction, this is a special step that we have included to, we have a lot of advisors come to us and they ask us about how to write a letter of introduction. And it's so crucial because when you apply for these grants and connect with professors, your letter should be something that should be considered, and you should be able to secure a response. Do your due diligence about the professor that you want to connect with, and know about his specific area of interest and his current research. Your letter should have use appropriate email address, preferably with your name. It should be formal name or formal email address. The professor should be formally addressed, for example, dear Professor Thomas. Your subject line should catch attention, because if you are going to do a generic line, so many students are applying, it will not catch his attention. You should talk about something that is unique, that you're interested in, and maybe that catches the attention of your professor. Your subject email should not be generic. This email should be crafted for the professor, and you should be putting in information that is really relevant and shows connects his research work and your aligned research interests and what are you bringing on the table. Talk about the professor's work and your related area of interest, and attach a well-prepared resume or CV. Next slide, please. Admission, if you get a positive response, great, the admission process becomes easy. If you don't get a positive response, in case of US, you still can apply for, you can still submit your application, and the admission department, after sifting through your application, will send your application for the consideration of different professors, and depending on their decision, your admission decision will be taken. Admission application requirements have a completed application, official transcript. Sometimes they will ask you to get it evaluated by an independent evaluator, for example, World Education Services. This cost should also be part of your funding funding calculations. Statement of purpose, references, resume, GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. Sometimes they will also requirements will also include an admission interview. For admission requirements, you should have 4 years of bachelor's degree. I mean, you should search for the minimum GPA, the university you are selecting, and see whether you fulfill the criteria. Higher the GPA, stronger the candidate you are. Professional experience is also very valued at the graduate level, both at the master's and PhD level. And publications are option both at the master's and PhD level, but if you have a publication at the PhD level, it's definitely adds to your profile. Next slide, please. Interpreting your funding award, funding would say, number one, funding award would mean full funding, partial funding, no funding. So you should know what your award is actually saying to come up with the funding or budgeting that you're doing. Duration of funding is very important to see if your I-20 says that this funding is available for 9 months or 12 months. If it's for 9 months, then your summer is not included, and you are free to do jobs or internships at that time and pay your bills. If 12 months is you are entitled to have the stipend for 12 months. Sources of education forward. Is your funding guaranteed? It's very important to see if the funding has been guaranteed for 1 year, 2 year for master's program, or 3 year for 5 year, or 1 or 2 years for PhD program, because you also have to factor in if you have to arrange for external funding, and when to actually hit the button of panic when you have to start searching for other sources of funding. Next slide, please. Travel preparation. After this process, you just apply for your visa. Once you get your visa, you are ready for departure. And good luck. Next slide, please. So these are resources that are available on EducationUSA.pk website in our resource library, and the rest of the resources are available on EducationUSA state.gov. Please do go ahead and search these resources and make them part of your search process. A lot of good opportunities are available here. Next slide, please. We can take the questions now. You please put your questions in the Q&A box, and I'll be able to answer your questions. So, what type of master's degree is offered as a postgraduate master in anesthesia technology? Muhammad Hamza, what we do is that we usually ask students, because there are so many specific degrees that they are applying to search for their major and search for their specific postgraduate masters and see what kind of degrees are out there available. This is part of the second step that we highlighted, researching your universities and making a list. Anonymous attendee, can you please share the slides or recording with us? These slides will be shared. The recording will be shared on our Facebook page, and please do look out for that. We will also let you know once the recording is online. Rohan Khan, I have done graduation in English. Can I OPT program of Masters in International Relations? Rohan, you can definitely opt for Masters in International Relations, but you have to also connect your background with why you are applying for international relations, making a case for yourself in your essay. You have to give good valid reason why you're switching from one concentration to another and how it will help you in your future career or goals. Doctoral programs are fully funded. The cost of attendance and living expenses are also including that. Most doctoral programs in US are fully funded, but some universities will encourage you to find external resources, because some of the programs will offer you funding for maybe first 2 years, or maybe ask you to come first and they stay there for 1 year, and then they will be able to give you funding. Can you please elaborate the OPT and CPT options in details? Okay. So do RA, TA, and GA ensure full tuition waivers? It depends on the university and your financial funding letter. How much funding did you get? RA, TA, and graduate assistantships definitely cover tuition waivers, but it depends on the case-on-case basis. Yes, the recording will be on the Facebook. Some Shamir Asif, hi, what are the job limitations on F1 visa? What type of work can you do? So on F1 visa, you can do work for 20 hours on university campus during your semester. If your funding does not include summer semester, you can also apply for internship outside the university on F1 visa. Does GRE play a vital role in receiving funding? Yes, your profile and your overall candidacy definitely improves if you have a higher GPA, and if you have a good score in GRE. Universities definitely consider all these factors, but these are not definitive. Universities look at applicants as a whole and see what is the best fit for what they are looking for their program. Azaz Akbar, what your best suggestion for funding LLM from US? Azaz, again, you will have to search the programs that you're interested in and the funding options that those programs are offering. Fulbright also funds, LLM is also part of Fulbright scholarship. You can also apply to Fulbright scholarship and secure funding for your master's degree. How many students are selected every year for Fulbright? There's no definite number. It depends on the quality of applicants and the programs they have applied to. Aisha Aslam, if scholarship only for 3 years for PhD, but you need 2 more years to complete, if you don't find a job, what are your options, and is your program going to be rolled back if you're not going to be able to continue funding yourself? So that's why, Aisha, we are talking about the fact that once you know that this is the funding award that you have been given, you also have to factor in the resources that you will be putting or you'll be arranging for the last 5 years. Sometimes when you are in the universities and you have performed well and maintained a certain GPA, you can also negotiate a package with the university for next 2 years. But if the possibility does not arise, you should be able to have a backup for the next 2 years. Anonymous attendee, how? I have an offer from U Chicago for 1 year master's with a research scholarship of 44,000. And a research assistant professor that can help with my living expenses. The total tuition cost is 71K. Do you recommend taking student loan private from international lenders to cover remaining costs? And this is a very personal decision, I would say, but taking loans from international lenders, please keep in mind that there are certain requirements that you have to follow. One, if you are taking loan in America, you will have to have a co-signer, which is who has to be a US citizen, and that's something that international students usually do not have readily available. Second, the interest rates are really, really high. So please do weigh the pros and cons of getting loans from international lenders. Maybe find some options that are more suitable for your for future reference. Saima Imtiaz, kindly briefly give information about applying for PhD, like how to apply for PhD degree. Saima, Education USA is doing a lot of events about how to apply for a PhD degree. We just recently did a session, The Road to PhD. They highlighted the different steps of application process. You should access the video on Education USA Facebook, and you should be able to get that information. So we have 5 minutes left. One more question. I have done coursework of my master's in anatomy, want to pursue my research in USA. What should I do? How do I proceed? Gul Snover, I will first advise you to register with us for our free advising services. Your assigned advisor will be able to take you through step by step. I think the first step would be to research the universities and come up with a list, and then go from there. Anonymous attendee, is it a wise decision to take loan for MSc Business Analytics degree? Also, are the financial institutions or platforms that provide loan or enables financing for international students? As I said in my presentation, there are sources available for taking loans, but that's an independent personal student decision. We do not recommend any specific institution. And the decision to take loan for business analytics is dependent on you. This is something that you have to calculate, see the cost of attendance, and see whether the cost of attendance is your capability of your financial capability can support this degree, and would you be able to have value of money later after doing this degree. If someone has Aisha asked them, if someone has a MPhil in applied linguistics and most of their professional teaching experience is TEFL and ESL, can they apply for a PhD in TEFL or education? Aisha, this is something that you have to go and research. Every universities have different policy of whether they would let what requirements they have for students to be applying in these fields. I think this is something to research and get to know in the specific universities that you're interested in. One more question, and then we will conclude our session. A lot of anonymous attendee, a lot of professors say that we are in the admission committee, so cannot guide you individually, as it can impact other applicants. What to do in this scenario? Your question is not clear. If you're saying that the professor that you connected are the admission committee, then you might want to connect with other professors. If you do not get a response, or if that's not a possibility, in case of US, you can just submit your application, and the admission committee will review your application and forward it to certain professors who will be interested in your candidacy, and they will decide accordingly if your candidacy is matching with what they want at the master's or the PhD level. Can we apply in master's program when in the last semester of graduation? Yes, you can start your application process, and you can think of applying at that point. You have to submit your application around the application deadlines are around December, January. So I think by that time, your final transcript will be with you. But it depends on what program you're in and would that be a possibility or not. So there are so many questions, but we are going to conclude our session today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for very diverse questions. Please register for our free advisor services at educationusa.com/register, and connect with further questions to your specific centers in Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad. Also, please do not forget to follow us on our social media pages. Education USA Pakistan and USCFP on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We look forward to your feedback, and don't have if some of your questions are not answered, please connect with your assigned advisor or register with us at educationusa.pk. Thank you.